In the heart of the untamed West, a fierce storm brewed over the plains, both in the skies and within the chest of a man named Jasper McCoy. Once a respected rancher in the small town of Silver Creek, Jasper had traded the gun for the plow, vowing to leave behind the violent past that had forged him. But as the clouds gathered and thunder rumbled through the air, he felt the storm of his own making rise within him. Years ago, Jasper had been known as a gunslinger with a quick draw and a heart heavier than any saddle on the range. He had faced down outlaws, corrupt lawmen, and anyone who dared to threaten his own. But those days lay buried beneath layers of soil, until tonight. An echo of an old ballad floated through his mind, words he had sworn never to sing again. The kind of song that stirred memories best, left untouched. Lightning split the sky as the first drops of rain fell, creating a soft hiss against the dry earth. In the saloon, patrons huddled over drinks, unaware of the tempest brewing outside. Jasper, however, sat alone at the far end of the bar, his fingers tracing patterns on the worn wood. Shadows of his past flickered around him, urging him to remember the man he once was. His heart pounded with the weight of unsaid words and buried truths. Then a figure entered, silhouetted against the backdrop of the storm. It was Clara, the local schoolteacher, her face damp but radiant, illuminated by the flickering gaslight. She had always seen beyond the rough exterior of Jasper McCoy. Her gentle smile cut through the gloom that enveloped him. "Evening, Jasper," she said, her voice a soft melody amidst the clamor of shouts and laughter in the saloon. "I thought I'd find you here." "Just passing the time," he replied. But inside he knew he was searching for something he had lost, a piece of himself that lay buried beneath the layers of shame. Clara leaned against the bar, her eyes steady as they met his. "You can't run from who you are, you've got to face it." A bittersweet smile crept onto Jasper's lips. He admired her strength, yet he felt the pulse of his past begin to rise again. He remembered the men who had fallen by his hand and the lives he had destroyed, convinced that violence was the only answer. Outside, the storm was gaining momentum, wind howling like restless spirits. Despite that tempest, the saloon was alive with songs and laughter, until an unexpected commotion erupted at the door. A group of rough-looking men burst inside, outlaws looking for trouble. Their eyes swept the room like hungry wolves, and it was evident they weren't in town for a friendly visit. Jasper's pulse quickened. He felt the stirrings of that old familiar fire within him. The outlaw leader swung a heavy arm, silencing the chatter. "We're looking for a man named Jasper McCoy. He's got something that belongs to us." Gasps echoed through the saloon. Angry whispers filled the air. Clara stepped forward, her gaze fierce. "He's not here. You're just looking for trouble." "Stay out of this, lady," the leader snarled, his voice dripping with disdain. Jasper's heart raced, pulling him toward the fray. The storm inside him roared to life, urging him to confront the demons he had buried. There stood a choice: stand aside and allow these men to tarnish his name, or embrace the truth and face his past head-on. With a deep breath, he stood up, the grit of years spent fighting surging through his veins. "What do you want with me?" he asked, his voice steady, crashing through the tension in the room. The outlaw's eyes lit with a manic glint. "You owe a debt, McCoy. You took something that was never yours. Tonight, we're here to collect." Jasper felt a surge of memories wash over him, images of bloodshed, chaos, and lost friends. But his eyes were clear, the mist of regret lifting for the first time in years. He locked eyes with Clara, seeing unwavering support reflected back. "I owe nothing to you or anyone else," Jasper replied defiantly, a calm confidence enveloping him. "I've paid my dues." Thunder rumbled ominously outside, mirroring the storm of emotions within. The outlaw laughed darkly. "You think you can just live your life in peace? Not a chance, McCoy." With that, the tension snapped. The air thickened as fists flew and chairs splintered, with drinks spilling across the floor. In the chaos, Jasper fought, not only for his life, but for his very soul. Each punch fueled his resolve, awakening a part of him he thought long dead. Amidst the frenzy, Clara moved fluidly, dodging chaos to assist Jasper, her bravery igniting something deep within him. Together, they fought against the tide of violence, standing strong in the face of overwhelming odds. As the storm raged outside and the brawl intensified, Jasper sang the ballad softly under his breath, the words he swore never to utter again. Each note resonated with power and truth, becoming a rallying cry amidst the chaos. He sang for lost days and comrades fallen, for redemption and the chance to rewrite his story. Will his truth survive the storm within? He thought, casting a glance at Clara, who had positioned herself protectively by his side. Their eyes met, a moment of understanding passing between them. In the midst of violence, Jasper felt the walls he'd built around his heart begin to crumble. The storm was raging, yes, but so was the realization that maybe, just maybe, he could be more than the man forged in gunpowder and regret. With one final surge, Jasper pushed through, overcoming the last of the outlaws, their menace dissolving into the shadows of the past. The saloon fell silent, breaths held as Jasper stood tall, his chest heaving, not just from the battle, but from the weight of what he had confronted. Clara stepped forward, her voice breaking the stillness. "You did it, Jasper. You faced them. You faced yourself." As the storm outside began to subside, Jasper looked around the saloon, seeing not just patrons, but a community ready to stand beside him. In that moment, the words of the ballad lingered on his lips, a confirmation of his journey from darkness into light. Perhaps truth could withstand the storm, he mused, feeling a flicker of hope ignite within his heart. The frontier was wild, but so was the promise of a new beginning, waiting just beyond the horizon. As the dust settled in the saloon, Jasper found himself surrounded by his neighbors, their faces a mix of admiration and disbelief. Clara's steady gaze held his, a reflection of the strength he hadn't known he possessed. It was a moment of reckoning, one that echoed the fresh air after a storm, clear yet charged with potential. Despite the adrenaline still coursing through him, Jasper felt a wave of exhaustion wash over him. He glanced at the now silent group of outlaws, their leader nursing a bruised jaw. The reality of what had just transpired sunk in, each heartbeat a reminder that he had faced his demons head-on both inside and out. "That was some fight," one of the townsfolk remarked, a rough-hewn smile breaking through the tension in the air. "Didn't know you had it in you, McCoy." Jasper chuckled, though it was bittersweet. "Neither did I," he admitted, wiping the sweat from his brow. "But there are some things worth fighting for." Clara stepped closer, her expression serious. "You need to realize that you don't have to bear this burden alone. The town sees you differently now. You're no longer just a rancher who vanished into the background." The wind picked up outside, howling as if it knew the weight of the words spoken within the saloon. Jasper took a deep breath, feeling the tension slowly slip away. It was hard to ignore the voices that had haunted him for years, but with each passing moment, they felt quieter, almost trivial. "Let's get you cleaned up," Clara said, a hint of warmth breaking through her stern demeanor. "You could use a drink. Water, not whiskey this time." Jasper nodded, appreciative of her effort to lighten the mood. As they made their way to a quieter corner, the townsfolk began to process what had happened. Whispers filled the air, and he overheard words that stirred something deep within him. "He's back," they said, and he couldn't help but wonder if that was a good thing. As Clara poured him a glass, Jasper's mind wandered to the outlaw leader. He couldn't help but feel a sense of pity mingled with anger. This man had once walked a path similar to his own, fueled by desperation, pride, and the unyielding will to survive. Was it too late for him? Or had he chosen a life that led only to ruin? "Jasper," Clara's voice broke through his thoughts, pulling him back to the present. "You're not alone in this anymore. You can stand tall." Her words resonated deeply, striking a chord within him. A warmth blossomed in his chest, a sense of belonging he hadn't felt in years. With renewed determination, Jasper straightened his back and nodded. "You're right. I need to reclaim who I am. This storm might have passed, but a new one is coming, one that I'll face alongside this community." "Together," Clara agreed, her eyes shining with conviction. Word of the incident spread quickly through Silver Creek like wildfire. By morning, the town was abuzz, eager to gather and discuss what had transpired. Jasper knew he had to address them, to let them see that he was more than just a ghost of his past. The gathering took place in front of the saloon, where townsfolk stood shoulder to shoulder, their interest palpable. Jasper felt a flicker of fear, but it was outweighed by a sense of purpose. He stepped forward, the winds of change swirling around him, inviting him to find his voice. "Folks," he began, his voice steady despite the weight of their gaze, Last night we fought, not just against those outlaws, but against the fears and doubts that have held me captive for too long. For years I've hidden behind my past, believing it defined me. There were murmurs in the crowd, a ripple of shared understanding. I've made mistakes, some unforgivable, but I am not that man anymore. I've realized that I can't run from who I am, nor can I ignore the lessons learned in blood and fire. I stand here today ready to fight for you, for this community. I want my actions to define me moving forward, not the ghosts of my past. The crowd grew still, absorbing his words. A man stepped forward, his brow furrowed. "What if the past catches up to you again?" he challenged softly yet firmly. "Then we face it together. I'm ready to make amends, not just with myself, but with every one of you. The storms we've faced are fierce, but I believe in the strength of this community. I believe we can withstand whatever comes our way." Clara's warm gaze encouraged him to go on. He took a deep breath, continuing, "I want to help rebuild this town, not just a ranch. Together we can cultivate a life that thrives beyond survival. We can create something worth singing about, a legacy of hope instead of fear." A murmur swept through the crowd, a glimmer of hope in their eyes. The very air seemed charged with potential. One by one, the townsfolk began to nod, their expressions shifting from skepticism to something profoundly supportive. A woman in the back spoke up, her voice hesitant but loud enough for Jasper to hear. "We believe in second chances, Jasper. You've shown courage. We'll stand by you." The courage he saw in her eyes ignited a spark within him, one that spread to those gathered around him. A chorus of affirmations followed, as more voices joined in, united by a common desire for a new start. "Let's build together. We're with you, Jasper." As the crowd roared with approval, Jasper felt the storm inside him calm further. The weight that had burdened him for so long began to lift. With the renewed support of Silver Creek behind him, he knew he was not just ready to face the coming storms, he was eager to embrace them. The past might remain etched in his memory, but as the clearing skies hinted at a brighter tomorrow, Jasper McCoy was determined to let his truth shine through. With Clara by his side, he took his first step toward reclaiming his narrative, ready to carve a new path amidst the wild expanse of the frontier. Hope and purpose surged within him like the first light of dawn breaking through the horizon, a promise that the stories of old could transform, just as he had done. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Jasper felt a renewed sense of purpose illuminate the dusty streets of Silver Creek. The cheers of the townsfolk echoed in his mind, bonds of support forged in the fires of struggle and resilience. Together, they had faced darkness, and now he was determined to steer them toward light. In the days that followed, the town buzzed with activity. The saloon transformed into a makeshift meeting hall where ideas flourished and plans were hatched. Jasper found himself at the center of it all, not as a leader but as a partner, a man ready to learn from his neighbors, to understand their needs and how he could help fulfill them. The first order of business was to fortify their defenses against any future threats. The outlaws had left a sour taste, prompting town meetings filled with excitement and a touch of tension. Clara took charge of rallying volunteers, her enthusiasm infectious, inspiring men and women alike to lend their skills and sweat to the cause. "Let's build a wall," Clara proposed one evening, her fiery spirit igniting the imaginations of the townsfolk. "A fence strong enough to keep out any trouble that comes our way." Jasper nodded in agreement. "And we can set up watchpoints. If we keep vigilant, we can protect our own." As plans took shape, the townsfolk rallied around the shared goal of securing their home. Young men and women, old and young, all took to the task. Jasper felt a rush of gratitude as he swung the hammer alongside them, feeling the weight of the past lift with every nail he drove into the wood. Clara worked tirelessly, coordinating efforts and fueling the spirit of collaboration. Jasper marveled at her resolve and the strength she brought to the efforts. He often caught her smiling at him, a warmth blooming between them as they shared laughs and stories under the sun. Days turned into weeks, and the fence grew taller under the warm embrace of the sun. Jasper felt invigorated, mending broken ties and creating new ones. Regular meetings nurtured a sense of community, where laughter mingled with concern as they shared their fears and aspirations. He felt for the first time in years like he belonged, but shadows lingered. The outlaws were not entirely gone, Rumors swirled about hidden camps still lurking in the hills. Jasper often found himself scanning the horizon during late-night watches, the memories of bloodshed still fresh in his mind. It was a reminder that peace was fragile in these parts. One evening, while the sun cast long shadows over the newly erected fence, Jasper and Clara stood atop a rise, the town below alive with activity. "Look at them," Clara said, her eyes sparkling. "They've come together like I've never seen before. You've helped bring that about." Jasper turned to her, his heart racing. "I couldn't have done it without you. Your fire fuels this town." Her smile lit up her face. "And your courage has reminded us all what we can achieve." As night fell, the sky deepened into shades of blue, the stars twinkling above like old friends. They walked back toward the saloon, the air filled with laughter and music, as the townsfolk celebrated their progress over a potluck dinner. Jasper took a moment to appreciate the sounds of joy that pierced his heart, a stark contrast to the echoes of gunfire from his past. But the darkness that had haunted him was not entirely gone. Rumors of the outlaws stirred again, whispers that left an uneasy tension hanging over the festivities. Jasper found himself drawn into discussions that turned serious quickly, worry etching lines on familiar faces. "Reports say they're regrouping," one man voiced during the gathering, voice low. "We can't stay complacent." Jasper felt the weight of those words land heavily. "We won't be caught off guard again. We need to stay vigilant. We can do this together." Murmurs of agreement spread through the crowd. As Jasper's voice resonated with calm authority he didn't know he possessed. It was clear to him that the town had become more than a collection of houses. It was a family, a bond forged through hardship and hope. Clara stepped up beside him, her expression fierce. "We'll set patrols. The more eyes we have watching out for each other, the stronger we'll be." As the townsfolk began to strategize, Jasper admired Clara's leadership skills, her passion infectious, igniting flames of courage that flickered brightly amongst them. Inspiration coursed through him, a growing realization that they could withstand whatever storms lay ahead. Weeks passed, but apprehension built alongside the comfort of community. Every creak and rustle in the night sent hearts racing, and every report brought renewed tension. But they persevered, becoming accustomed to working together, transforming fear into action. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jasper stood outside the saloon, watching the shadows stretch across the ground. Clara joined him, her presence a welcome warmth. "You okay?" she asked quietly, concern etched in her soft features. "Just thinking," he replied, his gaze fixed on the fading light. "This peace feels fragile. I don't want to let my guard down." She took a breath, pushing a stray hair behind her ear. "That's understandable, but we've built something strong here, Jasper. We can't let fear dictate our lives." Jasper turned to her, finding strength in her unwavering resolve. "You're right. We've faced our demons and emerged stronger. I just don't want to fail this town or you." Clara looked at him, sincerity brimming in her eyes. "You're not alone in this. We all stand together." Though Jasper felt a weight in his chest, knowing that trouble loomed in the horizon, he took comfort in her faith. That night, they joined hands with their neighbors once more, voices lifted in song, echoing through the darkening sky, a promise of unity, resilience, and hope. Days rolled forward, tension mounting with each sunset. Jasper sensed the unrest like a storm brewing, forceful and unpredictable. Every sunrise felt like a challenge as they prepared for the worst. But the bonds forged in love began to eclipse the shadows of fear. And whenever doubts crept into Jasper's heart, Clara's unwavering strength reminded him of the light they had created together. And as he looked at the horizon, he found his heart brimming with an unusual blend of anticipation, fueled by hope, community, and a love that grew stronger with every passing moment. Little did he know the real test was coming, one that would shake their community to its core and challenge everything they had built. Hearts were about to be weighed against the storm, but together they would prove that love and unity could weather even the fiercest gales. As dawn broke over Silver Creek, the air felt heavy with anticipation. Jasper stood at the window of the saloon, watching the horizon. The sunrise painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, but there was a chill in the air that sent shivers down his spine. The town was peaceful for now, but he could sense that change was on the wind, and it wouldn't be long before their resolve was tested. The previous night's conversations replayed in his mind. There had been whispers among the townsfolk about unusual activity in the hills, shadows flitting between the trees, campfires beyond the reach of their watch. He had urged the townspeople to be vigilant, but as he gazed at the peaceful morning, doubt began to creep into his thoughts. "Clara," he called, pulling away from the window. She entered from the kitchen, holding a steaming cup of coffee. Her hair was pulled back and determination shone in her eyes, a quality he had come to admire deeply. "Good morning," she said, her voice warm, cutting through the morning chill. "Are you ready for the day?" "I'm not sure. Something feels off." "I can't shake the feeling that trouble is coming," he confessed, taking the mug she offered. The rich aroma filled his senses, grounding him in the moment. Clara took a seat at the table across from him, her expression steady. "We've prepared ourselves, Jasper. We've become stronger and we won't face this alone." He met her gaze, her unwavering confidence sparking something within him. "You're right. We've built a community that stands together. But it's one thing to prepare and another to actually face what's out there." They both jumped as the sound of horses echoed outside, their hooves thundering against the dust. Jasper rushed to the door, heart racing, and stepped outside. A group of horsemen was approaching fast, dust billowing around them. "Riders!" he shouted, drawing the attention of the townsfolk who had begun to gather for the day. Everyone turned toward the approaching figures, a mix of apprehension and curiosity etched on their faces. As the riders neared, recognition dawned on Jasper. They were not just any riders. They were the outlaws, their silhouettes unmistakable. Panic rippled through the crowd, and an uneasy tension settled over Silver Creek. Jasper felt his pulse quicken as the outlaws reined in their horses just outside the saloon, their leader smirking. Well, if it isn't Jasper McCoy. "Looks like you've been busy playing house," he taunted, eyes scanning the assembled townsfolk. "What do you want?" Jasper demanded, stepping forward, a protective instinct boiling to the surface. The outlaw leader leaned back in his saddle, his grin widening. "Is that any way to greet old friends? We just wanted to come pay a visit. Heard you've been quite the hero, building fences and whatnot. It's adorable." Jasper's fists clenched at his sides. He could feel the townsfolk behind him shifting uncomfortably, the air thick with fear. "You're not welcome here. Leave now, and there won't be any trouble," he replied, keeping his voice steady. The leader's grin faded, replaced by a dangerous glint in his eye. "Trouble? Oh, I think that's exactly what we'll find. You see, we have some business that's still unsettled. A debt, if you will." "Your debts are yours alone," Clara spoke up, stepping to Jasper's side. Her voice was calm, but it bore the weight of her conviction. "You've caused enough harm in this town. We don't want any part of you." "You're a feisty one, aren't you?" the leader mocked, glancing at Clara with undisguised contempt. "But you don't understand what's at stake here. I'd advise you to keep your pretty little mouth shut. Why don't you leave while you still can?" Jasper stepped in, seething as he took a step forward. The outlaw sneered, his men shifting in their saddles, ready for a fight. "You really think you can protect them? We could easily ride you out of town, McCoy. You think they care about you? You're nothing but a washed-up gunslinger." The crowd began to murmur, uncertainty blooming among them. Jasper's heart raced. He was fighting not only for his life, but for the newfound sense of community that enveloped Silver Creek. He could see Clara's resolve, her faith in him, and it fueled him further. "Leave these people alone," he said, raising his chin defiantly. "You've forgotten that this town stands united. We won't back down." Laughter erupted from the outlaws, but Jasper found clarity in that moment. He felt the growing strength of his bond with Silver Creek, with Clara, and with everyone who believed in what they were building together. "You think you can take something from us? You've miscalculated," came a voice from the crowd. Jasper turned to see a robust farmer stepping forward, heavy-set with a face hardened by toil. "We're not afraid of you anymore." One by one, the townsfolk found their courage, stepping beside Jasper, forming a protective barrier against the encroaching threat. Clara placed her hand on Jasper's arm, her touch grounding him. "Back down, while you still can," she added, her voice unwavering. "We won't stand by and let you hurt anyone here." The outlaw's confidence wavered slightly, bumps of discord flickering among his men, but he quickly regained his composure, scowling at Jasper. "You think this is bravery? You're nothing but sheep thinking they can scare a wolf. We might be sheep, but we've got teeth, someone called from the back, igniting a roar of agreement from the crowd. For a heartbeat, silence enveloped them all. Jasper took a deep breath, feeling the strength of the town with him. "Leave us alone," he said, voice firm. "You don't belong here, and if you choose to stay, you'll face the consequences." The outlaw leader shifted in his saddle, weighing his options. Tension crackled in the air, charged and electric. Jasper's heart raced, but he stood tall, unwavering. With a reluctant sigh, the leader waved his hand dismissively. "You think you're a hero, McCoy. We'll see how long that lasts. This isn't over." With that, the outlaws turned their horses and retreated, leaving a trail of dust in their wake. The townsfolk erupted into cheers, a wave of relief washing over them. Jasper felt a weight lift from his shoulders as the tension dissolved into joyous laughter and shared relief. He turned to Clara, their eyes locking in silent understanding that they had faced the storm together and emerged unscathed. "Thank you," he said, gratitude pouring from his heart. "You were incredible." "Together," Clara replied, her smile radiant against the clearing sky. As the sun rose higher, filling the town with light and warmth, Jasper knew the true strength of Silver Creek rested not solely on the fences and walls they built, but in the bonds they nurtured. The past would always be a part of him, but it no longer defined him. With Clara by his side and a community united behind him, he felt ready whatever challenges lay ahead, ready to face the future with courage, hope, and a newfound sense of purpose.